What happens when an Avenger starts writing self-help books? Welcome back, Book Dragons. I hope you all had an awesome holiday. I am coming to you today with a book review, and I can't wait to talk to you about this book. It's kind of a little different, but it's a good difference, so I hope you enjoy it. And we'll just get right to it. Remember, if you want to find links to where you can find me on other social medias and stuff, you've got this QR code here that you can check out. So check that out to your heart's content. And we're going to get right to this book. So the book I'm reviewing today is Look Out for the Little Guy by Scott Lang. Now you may be saying to yourself, Chaz, that looks a lot like Paul Rudd. And you would be correct, because that is Paul Rudd. But Scott Lang is the character that he plays in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, also known as Ant-Man. So, this is a book that he wrote kind of in real life, but did he? You know, it's one of those questions. It kind of blurs the lines between fantasy and reality, and you begin to wonder, okay, is this book really real? Yes, of course it's real. I was given the book as a gift because my friend knows that I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this was a marketing piece released shortly before the third Ant-Man movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So we're going to go ahead and get down to talking about this book, and I'm going to put on my eyes here, as I normally do if I can get them on there. Yes, got to fix the hat. You know how it goes. I do have some notes about the book that I want to make sure I touch on, so I'm going to set this down and get out my notes here and just give you a little bit of an idea of what this book is about. So this book is part memoir, part self-help, and it's a nonfiction book told from a fictional point of view. And as I mentioned, it is a promotional piece. But the thing I like about this is that stories really help us make sense of reality, and so I think this book was a brilliant idea. Whoever concocted it and came up with it, it's just a brilliant idea. So if you're not familiar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, specifically Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, and you really have no desire to watch the Marvel movies, this book is great because it gives you a rundown, more or less, of the entirety of the Ant-Man series, with the exception of the final movie, because it was essentially a promotional piece for the third movie. So it doesn't really go into detail about the third movie, but you will get a pretty thorough synopsis of the first two movies, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And the reason this book really works as a self-help type of memoir is because a lot of things happened to Scott Lang's character. He had been in prison, and he got out of prison and ended up working for Hank Pym, who was the original Ant-Man. A whole bunch of things happened. He ended up joining the Avengers, but a lot of not so good things happened to him in his life. And I thought it was a really neat way to encapsulate all of that in a very digestible way for people to get something for their lives. And there are some things in this book that seem really basic, seem common sense, but the way it's presented as a part of Scott Lang retelling his story, I thought was just really well done. And it also fits with something that you might expect to come from Disney. I thought it was really brilliant. And of course, the only thing I would warn you about, if you are a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you have not seen any of the Ant-Man movies, you're going to want to skip this book because it spoils the first two movies, like completely. It pretty much tells everything that happened in those first two movies. So that's the one drawback, if there is one. But I really, really enjoyed this, and it was a fun book for me as a nerd and also as someone who wants to think about ways that I can improve my thinking and the way I conduct life and the way I approach difficulties. So it was kind of cool to experience that from both angles. So this is kind of a short book review, but I do want to leave you with a couple of quotes that really stuck out to me and I thought were really impactful. I know that's kind of not a word, but it's used a lot in our modern culture to talk about things that have a great impact. It's impactful. So I'm going to say it's impactful. And here is the first one. And this speaks to his whole reason for writing the book. And finally, because if you take nothing else away from my words, what I want to share is that what makes all of us giants is how much we look out for the little guy, how we help out our fellow humans when they need it most, how our greatest superpower can simply be a listening ear, a concerned eye, or an outstretched hand, how we don the hero's uniform by simply showing up and doing the unbelievably unlikely job that life has just handed us. And that was a really, really great summary of the book, and it nailed exactly what he was trying to do in this book. And whoever came up with the concept of this book, that was exactly what they were driving at, because at its heart, superhero movies and superhero stories are supposed to encourage us toward that goal of being the everyday hero no matter what that looks like, right? Or to be encouraged by seeing other people who are stepping up to that plate. The fact that you don't have to be super to be a hero, right? The second quote is, "You are what you can do. To rebuild is to take what you know how to do, no matter how unconventional or questionable that skill might seem to you now, and figure out how to do it differently, how to use it to take your life in a new direction, a better one." And I thought that was really cool, just speaking to the fact that none of the skills that we have are useless. We have those skills for a reason. Even though we can't apply it in one circumstance, we can apply it in other circumstances, and our lives can change because of it. So I thought that was really cool and very encouraging that no one is unskilled. They might think they are, but at the end of the day, everything they can do matters. Everybody can do something that can move the world forward or move one person forward, move themselves forward. I just thought that was really, really great. So those are just a couple of quotes that really stood out to me. There's a lot of quotable moments in this book. I do encourage you to check out this book. If I was to rank this book, I would put it in my hoard, and I'm glad I own it. I'm glad it was gifted to me because it is definitely worthy of being on my shelf. It is something that I think I would read again, partly because I'm a nerd and also because I just enjoy positive, uplifting books like that sometimes. Even though I'm not super into nonfiction, this isn't quite nonfiction. So yes, it goes in my hoard, and I would like to know what your thoughts are on this book. Have you ever heard of it? Is it something that you think you might want to pick up and read? Has it been on your wish list for a while? Are you as big a nerd as I am and you know exactly who Scott Lang is? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you've never heard of the book. Let me know in the comments below and whether or not you would pick this book up and give it a read. I definitely think it's worth reading at least once. It may not be your cup of tea, but you might find something that you enjoy about it. So that's all I've got to say on this book. And I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Bookish Jazz. Thank you for joining me. I hope you will be reading more books. I'll talk to you soon.